The reaction from the right to yesterday's guilty verdict in the Chauvin murder trial was both stunning and predictable. We saw QAnon Congresswoman Marjorie Greene paint a dark and foreboding picture of Washington, D.C. in the wake of the verdict, saying D.C. is completely dead tonight. People stayed in and were scared to go out because of fear of riots. Police are everywhere and have riot gear. BLM is the strongest terrorist threat to our country. Thankfully, the actual residents of Washington, D.C. called her out for her deception, including journalists who accurately reported that it was a completely normal night. People were out walking their dogs, the parks were full, and restaurants were busy. Then there was former Trump press secretary Kayleigh McEnany, who criticized Joe Biden for the comments he made about the trial after the jury had already been sequestered. Here was her unsolicited advice to the president yesterday.
There's so much hurt, so much pain, and I think it's the role of the President of the United States to stay back, to not inflame the tension. It's such a tinderbox moment, and I think he should have just reserved comment and said he's praying for the family.
Reserved comment? Her former boss literally gave a running commentary on active cases and investigations, attacking judges, jurors, and prosecutors. And he tried to intervene in the criminal proceedings against his friends. In fact, he interfered so much with the Justice Department that his own attorney general effectively told him to shut up. But the worst reaction came from old Tucker Carlson, who suggested that the only reason the jury rendered a guilty verdict is because they were too intimidated to do otherwise.
The jury in the Derek Chauvin trial came to a unanimous and unequivocal verdict this afternoon. Please don't hurt us. The jurors spoke for many in this country. Everyone understood perfectly well the consequences of an acquittal in this case. After nearly a year of burning and looting and murder by BLM, that was never in doubt.
Cat and microwave meals is not only insulting the intelligence of the jury, he's propagating the myth that racial justice is something to be terrified of. And the Black Lives Matter protests, by the way, have been overwhelmingly nonviolent. A study by the Harvard Radcliffe Institute found that the overall levels of violence and property destruction were low at these protests, and most of the violence that did take place, in fact, was directed against the BLM protesters. White. Let me play, this is the governor of Florida, basically saying what Tucker said in a way. Listen to him.
I don't know what happened with this verdict, but if that's something that can potentially happen, where you basically have justice meted out because the jury is scared of what a mob may do. And again, I'm not saying that's what happened here, but certainly to think that somehow that is going to influence how the rule of law is applied, it would be a total disaster if that idea takes hold.